Why is Brazilian waxing so difficult? And I think the problem with Brazilian waxing that a lot of us don't realize is that it is a specialized service. See, part of the problem with our industry, though, is that that's the one service that we're willing to have such a discrepancy in pricing. It can go as low as $10. I've seen a $10 Brazilian wax all the way up to a $200 Brazilian wax. So the discrepancy in the Brazilian waxing to me has always been mind-boggling because it is such a difficult service to master. And the reason I say that is because it's not trained in school. We don't have to do 100 Brazilian waxes like we have to do 100 brows or 100 lip or 100 chin. And, you know, over the years that I have perfected my technique, I like to say this disclaimer all the time. I was never a 7-minute Brazilian waxer, ever. I never wanted to do Brazilian waxing, ever. I never wanted to go to that place on a person's body. That was not what my intention was when I went to aesthetic school. When I went to aesthetic school, I wanted to be the master esthetician for facials. I wanted people to just fall asleep in my chair. I wanted them to be, you know, so relaxed and so comfortable and me treat their skin and hyperpigmentation. Now, that was my idea when I went to school. When I started doing Brazilian waxing, even though if you've ever watched the wax class, I talk about my story and how I started, and all of it is true. I did not want to do Brazilians. The only reason I did them, number one, I was begged to do them over and over from a client that I had. And secondly, I kind of realized that I can make more money doing Brazilians than I could facials. So take it like this, and I'm gonna break it down really simple. I would have an hour facial, right? So the hour facial really wasn't an hour facial. Why? Because even if the client came early, there still had to be conversation before the service started. Then you think of the service time from bed, from the minute you put water on their face, all the way to the end when you say it's done. Then you go and you talk about retail and then you rebook. So it was actually turning into a 75-minute treatment versus in that same 75 minutes, I could see 5 waxing clients in that same 75 minutes. And it really became, okay, if I place everything just right, if I make sure I get my system down, I could really work 3 days instead of 7. I could schedule, 3, 8, or 9-hour days and make just as much money as if I worked 7 days seeing only facial people. So I really took that to heart when I started perfecting my technique. Now, perfecting the 7-minute Brazilian took 3 years. So for 3 years, I did free services. I practiced on family members, or more friends, because my family members, they didn't want to get waxed like that, but it was really more friends. And I gave away a lot of Brazilians to get to that time. Now, when you think about waxing, because we are so general, we don't really understand that there's a science to everything that we do. Just like we research all this long years when we want to get a skincare line, that should be the same energy we put into wax, but we don't think of it that way. We think of it completely different. One is quick money. If you're broke, look, offer some free waxing because people will come into wax. Not realizing the higher quality and the better quality service you do with the wax itself, the more likely your clients are going to come back. They know it hurts. And that's one thing that I think I never understood. And I have been doing education and waxing. I started in 2008, so about 7 years. And people crack me up. Estheticians crack me up because they're like, oh, that looks painful. It is painful. Oh, that looks like it hurts. Because it does. And the thing is that, yes, when I don't even say minimize discomfort. You know why? Because that's a lie. Part of it is, I think I have that I have that reminder of my mom's a dentist. I've said that she's a dental hygienist. She would always give me my shots. Absolutely. And even if you shook my lip while you were giving that injection, it was beyond uncomfortable or discomfort. No, it hurt. Let's stop lying and be honest and say that it hurts. It is not a comfortable situation. Removing hair from the pore is painful. So trying to figure out a way to not make it painful is not waxing. So, you know, it's a fine line with us estheticians because we don't focus on getting specifically down to perfecting the technique so that it's quick and efficient. What we do is we try to figure out, well, I'm trying to make it not painful. It's going to be painful, okay? It is. Waxing is not pretty either. If I would have had someone show me tips and tricks on how to be more efficient, it would be so much easier. It looks fast and rough, absolutely. And if I was showing, and this is the other thing, and I think this is why I perfected being quicker, because I get waxed. So if I went to an esthetician, and I've gone to one, and I laid there for an hour, it's not a good feeling. It really isn't. Because think about it. If you take it from your client's point of view when you're waxing, if you're laying there for an hour, no clothes on, your booty, look, as I taught my daughter, booty and cootie is out. You're gapped open. You got fingers and wax and strips and all kinds of stuff in your stuff. That's not a good situation to be in for that amount of time. So if you ever think about it from your client's point of view, which is what I did when I started really thinking about how I wanted to be more efficient, I always would refer back to the situations that I had. Because even if I'm holding myself, no one wants to hold their booty up. Absolutely. And you got your booty cheek and you trying to figure out for 30 minutes, and then you go to the other side and you trying to, and then you looking back to see if anybody done creaked and peeked into the door. So it's too much. It's too much. And if you think of it that way, then the ambition comes from, let me figure out a better technique, not only to have my client comfortable, but to be more efficient, but to make more money. So when you think about what you're doing, do you ever put yourself in the position of your client? Do you ever think about how your client looks at you doing the Brazilian? Because I think that's the part that we don't talk about as estheticians. We don't talk about poop butt. We don't talk about when women are not clean or men are not clean. We don't talk about when their feet stink. We don't talk about when they fart on you. We don't talk about when you see voodoo crystals coming out their behind. We don't talk about any of those things. We deal with a lot. But when you really think about the bigger picture, if we had had this kind of conversations in the beginning of our career before we even started going there, it wouldn't be such a shock. And I don't really understand why it's so taboo to have discussions about it. And typically when I do talk about it, people laugh hard. But no, the reason you're laughing is because it happens. And if it hasn't happened, it's going to happen. So you better be ready. Okay? But that's one thing about Brazilian waxing too, that is not just the actual wax. It's the hygiene. It's the communication. It's discussing ingrowns. It's talking about wearing no underwear. It's talking about how you cleanse and all that other stuff. Most of my clients, even if they're coming to me before Brazilian, I tell them not to wear underwear either. So come in your muumuu, your nice, sweatpants, your baggy pants. Don't wear any drawers. You're going to mess up my artwork. Because I'm going to be mad if I take off all that hair and you put your funky drawers back on. That's nasty. That's gross. Don't do that. And a lot of them, but I always wear underwear. You just paid me $95 to put funky drawers all over that. And they're like, oh, that's nasty. Yeah. So when you have a system down, that's when the time starts to come down. I think with my plus sizes, I've always been very overly cautious to make sure that I'm not speaking and just saying, okay, well, throw your butt here or do this or do that. I really show, the towel technique, which I love using a towel with my plus size ladies, especially if they hold up their legs. I have pregnant ladies that come to me, so I always use a towel technique as well. But really understanding that we just don't ever see that in our normal videos. It's always a skinny mini. It's always a little girl that has a flat stomach, that ain't got no rolls and no stretch marks and has the perfect triangle of hair. That was never my client. Most of my clients have just hair growing up the thigh, growing up the side, growing back behind the thigh, up through the booty crack. Those are the kind of people that I wax. So when I was doing my videos, I wanted to really bring as realistic to what I see in my treatment room to a training situation, because that we don't see that, you know.